The vast chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the voices of 1,000 different species. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the floating city of Nexus Prime, discussing trade routes, territorial disputes, and the endless bureaucracy that kept their civilization running. Among the towering crystalline beings of Vorthon and the gas-wrapped entities from the nebula worlds, one topic came up again and again in hushed tones: Earth. The humans remain as backward as ever, declared Ambassador Zethkar of the Zephyrian Empire, his scaled features twisted in disgust. His forearms gestured dismissively at the holographic display showing Earth's third arm of the Milky Way. Our latest surveillance reports show they still use chemical propulsion for their primitive spacecraft. Their largest vessels barely reach their own moon. The assembled delegates murmured in agreement. Dr. Velnara, the Council's chief xenobiologist, nodded her elongated head. Her species had been studying galactic evolution for over 50,000 years. The human species represents a classic case of evolutionary stagnation, she explained to the younger delegates. They achieved basic intelligence approximately 200,000 years ago, yet they remain trapped on their single world. Most species achieve faster-than-light travel within 50,000 years of developing agriculture. Humans have had agriculture for 12,000 years. Perhaps we should simply classify them as a protected species, suggested Counselor Thane from the Andorian Collective. His tentacles writhed thoughtfully as he spoke, like the singing crystals of Melodia Prime or the thought butterflies of Zendala. Interesting to observe, but clearly incapable of joining galactic society. Ambassador Zethkar's laugh was harsh and grating. Protected? Why waste resources on such an insignificant world? Their planet sits on one of the richest mineral deposits in this arm of the galaxy. Rare earth elements, quantum crystals, and enough fresh water to supply a dozen worlds. All wasted on a species that cannot even leave their own atmosphere reliably. The debate continued for hours, as it had for decades. Earth remained a puzzle to the galactic community. Most worlds showed clear signs of technological progress that could be tracked from space. Energy signatures increased steadily over time. Communications networks expanded. Industrial output grew. Transportation systems became more sophisticated. Earth showed none of these typical patterns. Human energy consumption had actually decreased over the past century, according to the long-range sensors. Their communications were strangely quiet, with very little electromagnetic radiation escaping their atmosphere. Their industrial centers seemed to be moving underground or becoming remarkably clean. To the galactic observers, it looked like a civilization in decline. The humans had a brief period of promise about a century ago. Dr. Velnara continued her lecture. They developed nuclear weapons and began exploring their local space. We thought they might finally break through to galactic consciousness. Instead, they seemed to have turned inward. Their space programs reduced. Their military spending decreased. They began focusing on what they call environmental protection and sustainable development. The younger delegates found this fascinating. Most species went through an aggressive expansion phase once they discovered nuclear energy. They strip-mined their home worlds, built massive industrial complexes, and launched themselves into space with reckless determination. The successful ones eventually learned balance, but only after establishing themselves among the stars. Humans had somehow skipped the expansion phase entirely. It suggests a fundamental flaw in their thinking, observed the Marthari delegate, her insectoid mandibles clicking thoughtfully. They lack the drive necessary for galactic civilization. Perhaps their brains are simply too small to comprehend the possibilities beyond their world. What the galactic observers could not see were the vast, underground cities that humanity had been building for generations. Beneath the mountains of Earth, massive industrial complexes worked day and night, powered by fusion reactors that produced almost no detectable signature. The humans had learned early that broadcasting their capabilities to the galaxy might not be wise. The first detection of alien life had come through radio telescopes in the 21st century. Instead of celebrating, human governments had immediately classified the information. If other civilizations existed, they reasoned, it was better to know about them while remaining unknown themselves. Humanity began the greatest construction project in their history, moving their most advanced research and manufacturing deep underground. On the surface, Earth looked like a world focused on simple agriculture and clean energy. Solar panels and wind farms provided power for the visible cities. Transportation remained surprisingly primitive, with most humans still using wheeled vehicles and chemical-powered aircraft. The few space missions that aliens observed were deliberately basic, using inefficient rocket technology that had been obsolete for decades. Underground, humanity built fusion-powered factories that could manufacture materials the galactic community had never imagined. They developed artificial intelligence systems that made decisions faster than any known organic brain. They created weapons that could split atoms with pinpoint precision or bend space itself. Most importantly, they learned. Every alien transmission that reached Earth was recorded and analyzed. Human scientists reverse-engineered alien technology from the faintest electromagnetic signatures. They studied galactic languages, political structures, and military tactics. Humanity became experts on their galactic neighbors while remaining completely unknown to them. The deception required incredible discipline. For over 300 years, every human space mission had to appear primitive to watching alien eyes. Every communication had to seem local and basic. Every industrial activity had to be hidden or disguised. Entire generations of humans lived and died knowing that their true civilization existed in secret, far beneath the surface of their seemingly backward world. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Zethkar was growing tired of the endless debate about Earth's status. The Zephyrian Empire needed new resources, and Earth represented the easiest target in their expansion zone. His people were warriors by nature, with technology advanced enough to overwhelm any primitive species. Enough discussion, he declared, rising to his full 3-meter height. The humans have had their chance to join galactic civilization. They have chosen isolation and stagnation instead. The Zephyrian Empire formally requests permission to claim Earth under the doctrine of beneficial occupation. The chamber fell silent. The doctrine of beneficial occupation was rarely invoked, but it was legal under galactic law. If a species was deemed incapable of proper development of their world's resources, another species could claim stewardship. The native population would be relocated to reservations or integrated as a labor force. Dr. Velnara checked her files one final time. 3 centuries of observation showed no significant technological advancement from humanity. Their population had actually stabilized rather than exploding across their solar system. By every measure the galactic community used, humans were a dead-end species. The evidence supports the Zephyrian claim, she announced reluctantly. Homo sapiens shows no indication of achieving spacefaring civilization. Their technology remains primitive, their expansion non-existent, and their development stagnant. Under Article 47 of the Galactic Charter, the doctrine of beneficial occupation may be applied. The vote was unanimous. Within days, the Zephyrian Empire would dispatch a subjugation fleet to Earth. They expected no meaningful resistance from a species that still used chemical rockets and had never ventured beyond their own moon deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Automated systems detected the Council's transmission and began awakening protocols that had waited centuries for activation. Across Earth's hidden cities, status lights changed from amber to red. The time for hiding was over. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first learned they were not alone. The sleeping dragons were about to wake, and the galaxy would learn the difference between seeming weak and being weak. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to end. The Zephyrian battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm of metal and death. 200 warships stretched across space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Crexton stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. Such a small, blue world to cause so much debate in the Council. Initial scans confirmed the intelligence reports, his tactical officer announced. No orbital defense platforms, no military satellites. Their most advanced vessels appear to be simple cargo haulers moving between their planet and moon. We detect approximately 8 billion life forms on the surface. Admiral Crexton nodded with satisfaction. His species had conquered 47 worlds over the past millennium. This would be the easiest campaign of his career. The humans had not even noticed their arrival yet, despite the massive energy signature of 200 starships appearing in their system. Open a communication channel to the planet, he ordered. Let us give them a chance to surrender with dignity. The transmission beam focused on Earth's major population centers. When the alien face appeared on screens across the planet, most humans were genuinely shocked. In the secret command centers hidden deep underground, however, operators had been tracking the fleet since it first entered hyperspace 3 days ago. "People of Earth," Admiral Krexthan began, his translated words reaching every television, computer, and communication device on the planet. "I am Admiral Krexthan of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been claimed under the doctrine of beneficial occupation, as approved by the Galactic Council. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Your leaders will present themselves at the coordinates we are transmitting. Your population will be relocated to designated areas for processing." The Admiral paused, studying the primitive cities below. No massive shield generators powered up. No defense fleets launched from hidden bases. The humans seemed as helpless as expected. "Resistance is futile," he continued. "Your technology is centuries behind ours. We offer you a choice between peaceful integration into our empire or complete destruction. You have 24 hours to decide." Across Earth's surface, the reaction appeared to be exactly what the Zephyrians expected. Panic filled the streets. Governments held emergency sessions. News broadcasts showed crying families and frightened crowds gathering in religious buildings. It looked like a primitive species facing the inevitable. In the hidden command centers, however, different scenes were playing out. General Sarah Chen stood in the primary war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching tactical displays that tracked every ship in the alien fleet. Around her, dozens of officers coordinated with similar facilities on every continent. "Analysis complete," reported her chief technology officer. "The alien ships use standard plasma-based weapons and particle beam arrays. Their shields operate on rotating frequency modulation. Their hulls appear to be standard duranium composite with quantum lattice reinforcement." General Chen smiled grimly. Humanity had been studying these exact technologies for over 2 centuries, based on intercepted alien communications and careful observation of galactic conflicts. They knew the weaknesses of every major military design in current use. "Time until the deadline?" she asked. 22 hours, 18 minutes. "Good. That gives us time to make this look convincing." On the surface, Earth's governments were playing their assigned roles perfectly. The president of the United Earth Federation appeared on global television, looking appropriately terrified as he announced humanity's intention to negotiate for better surrender terms. Military forces worldwide stood down visibly, parking their most primitive vehicles in open areas, where alien sensors could detect them. What the aliens could not detect were the massive installations hidden beneath every major mountain range on Earth, powered by fusion reactors that operated at near-perfect efficiency. These facilities had been building humanity's true military force for generations. In the Himalayas, launch bays the size of small cities prepared to open for the first time in 300 years. The ships waiting inside bore no resemblance to the chemical-powered rockets the aliens had observed. These vessels were powered by controlled micro-black holes, armed with weapons that could manipulate fundamental forces, and protected by shields that bent space itself. Admiral Krexthan spent the waiting period studying his prey. Long-range scans of Earth's surface showed exactly what he expected from a primitive species facing extinction. Massive traffic jams as populations fled major cities, crude military vehicles moving openly with no attempt at concealment, communications networks flooding with panicked messages in hundreds of different languages. "They are even more pathetic than the Council's reports suggested," he told his officers. "Some of their soldiers are still carrying projectile weapons. Others use simple explosive devices. Their aircraft cannot even reach orbital altitude." What the Admiral did not realize was that every movement his sensors detected was carefully choreographed. The fleeing populations were moving to predetermined safety zones. The visible military equipment was obsolete hardware kept specifically for alien observation. The communications chatter included carefully crafted signals designed to reinforce alien assumptions about human capabilities. As the deadline approached, Admiral Krexthan positioned his fleet in attack formation above Earth's major population centers. His plan was simple and brutal. A demonstration of force against a few cities would convince the remaining humans to surrender immediately. He selected targets that would maximize psychological impact while preserving the most valuable infrastructure. "Begin bombardment of the selected targets," he ordered as the 24-hour deadline expired. "Show these primitives the cost of defying the Zephyrian Empire." The first plasma bolt struck Earth's surface like falling stars. New York, London, Tokyo, and 6 other major cities vanished in columns of superheated fire that could be seen from space. The alien weapons turned sand to glass and steel to vapor. In seconds, millions of human lives ended. The attack was broadcast live across the planet. Alien sensors recorded the expected response. More panic, more chaos. More evidence of a species too primitive to mount meaningful resistance. In the hidden command centers, however, the mood was very different. General Chen watched the death toll climbing on her screens, her face set in stone. Every human life lost had been a volunteer, part of families who had evacuated to the underground cities days ago. The apparent casualties were elaborate holograms and automated systems, but the destruction was real enough. "Admiral Crexton," she said quietly, knowing the alien could not hear her. "You have just made the greatest mistake in galactic history." She turned to her communications officer. "Send the activation signal to all fleets. Operation Awakening is now in effect." Across Earth, hidden installations that had waited 3 centuries for this moment began to activate. In the depths of the ocean, massive doors opened to reveal submarine docks that had never seen sunlight. Under the ice of Antarctica, launch bays prepared to deploy ships that moved faster than light itself. In orbit around the sun, disguised as simple asteroids, automated weapons platforms came online, with enough firepower to destroy solar systems. Admiral Crexton was studying the bombardment results when his sensor officer spoke with confusion in his voice. "Sir, I am detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. Multiple sources, very high output. The signatures do not match any known human technology." Before the Admiral could respond, his tactical display exploded with new contacts. Ships were rising from Earth's surface, but they were nothing like the primitive vessels in the intelligence reports. These craft moved with impossible grace, their hulls gleaming with technologies that should not exist on a backward world. "Impossible," Admiral Crexton whispered as he watched a human fleet deploy around his forces, with coordination that surpassed his own tactical computers. The intelligence was wrong. It was all wrong. The first human weapons fired without warning. They were not plasma bolts or particle beams, but something far more sophisticated. Reality itself seemed to bend around the Zephyrian ships as weapons that manipulated space-time tore through their shields like paper. In less than 30 seconds, half of the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships tried to retreat but found their hyperspace engines inoperative. The humans had somehow created a field that prevented faster-than-light travel within the solar system. Admiral Crexton realized too late that his primitive prey had been waiting for exactly this moment. The sleeping dragons of humanity were fully awake, and they were far more terrible than any species in the galaxy had imagined. Admiral Crexton stared at his tactical display in horror as his mighty fleet dissolved around him. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being torn apart by weapons that defied every principle of galactic military science. The human vessels moved like living things, dancing between his formation with impossible grace while unleashing destruction that turned matter itself into energy. "Return fire," he screamed at his gunners. "All weapons, maximum power!" The Zephyrian plasma cannons and particle beam arrays opened up with everything they had. Beams of superheated matter that could vaporize mountains struck the human ships dead on. The alien weapons had enough power to crack continents. They passed harmlessly through the human vessels as if hitting empty space. "Shields are not stopping our weapons." "Sir?" his tactical officer reported with growing panic. "The energy is just disappearing. Our targeting computers cannot get a solid lock. It is like the human ships exist in a different dimension." Admiral Crexton had fought in 47 campaigns across the galaxy. He had seen shield technology that could deflect any known weapon, armor that could absorb planet-killing blasts, and stealth systems that bent light around spacecraft. He had never seen anything like this. The human ships seemed to flicker in and out of normal space-time. When alien weapons fired at them, the beams passed through empty air. When the humans fired back, their weapons struck with devastating precision. It was like fighting ghosts that could reach out and kill with a touch. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy buildups throughout their solar system," his science officer announced. "Whatever the humans are using for power, it is beyond our ability to measure. The readings suggest they have harnessed forces we do not understand." On Earth's surface, the hidden cities were revealing their true nature for the first time in centuries. Massive towers rose from underground installations, crackling with energy that made the air itself glow. Weapons platforms the size of buildings emerged from concealed positions, their targeting systems locking onto every alien vessel simultaneously. General Chen stood in her command center, watching her carefully planned operation unfold with deadly precision. Around her, holographic displays showed the battle in real time. Every human ship was exactly where it should be. Every weapon was performing exactly as designed. The alien fleet was being systematically destroyed according to a plan that had been refined for 300 years. Estimated time until alien fleet neutralization, she asked her tactical coordinator. 17 minutes at current engagement rate, came the reply. All objectives are being met ahead of schedule. General Chen nodded, but her expression remained grim. The real battle was not the destruction of this invasion force. Any fool with enough firepower could destroy ships. The real battle was sending the right message to the galaxy beyond. The surviving Zephyrian vessels were learning hard lessons about human military capability. Their long-range sensors were recording everything, transmitting data back to the Galactic Council with increasing desperation. Each transmission carried details about weapons and technologies that should not exist on a primitive world. "Sir, we are losing ships faster than our computers can track," Admiral Crexthan's communications officer reported. "The human weapons appear to be using quantum manipulation technology. They are not destroying our vessels so much as unmaking them at the molecular level." The Admiral watched in fascination and terror as a human weapon struck one of his heavy cruisers. Instead of exploding or burning, the massive ship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment there was empty space where 2,000 Zephyrian warriors had been fighting for their lives. "What manner of weapon unmakes matter itself?" he whispered. His science officer was frantically analyzing sensor data. "The energy signature suggests they are manipulating fundamental forces, sir. This technology is centuries beyond anything in our databases, perhaps millennia beyond. How did a species using chemical rockets develop weapons that rewrite the laws of physics?" The question had no answer. The intelligence had been perfect. For 3 centuries, every scan of Earth had shown a primitive civilization with basic technology. Their space program was laughable. Their energy production was minimal. Their military forces were barely capable of fighting each other, let alone galactic invaders. Yet here they were, wielding power that made the Zephyrian Empire look like children playing with toys. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," his communications officer announced. "They are demanding our surrender. Put it on screen." The image that appeared was not what Admiral Crexthan expected. Instead of some primitive human leader speaking from a crude command center, he saw a sophisticated holographic projection of a human female in military uniform. Behind her, advanced displays showed tactical information that his own computers could barely process. "I am General Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," she said calmly. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Your fleet is being systematically destroyed. I offer you one chance to surrender and return to your territory with a message for the Galactic Council." Admiral Crexthan's pride warred with his survival instincts. He was a Zephyrian warrior, bred for conquest. Surrender was not in his nature. But he was also intelligent enough to recognize impossible odds when he saw them. "What are your terms?" he asked through gritted teeth. "Simple," General Chen replied. "You will leave our system immediately with whatever ships can still move. You will carry this message to the Galactic Council. Humanity is not primitive. We are not helpless. We have been watching you for centuries, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment. Any further attacks on Earth or human interests will result in retaliation that will make today look like a gentle warning." The Admiral looked around his ruined bridge. Half his crew was dead. His fleet was scattered wreckage floating in space. The humans had accomplished in 20 minutes what should have taken days of brutal fighting. "And if we refuse?" he asked. General Chen's smile was colder than the space between stars. "Then none of your ships leave this system, and the galaxy learns about human capabilities when our fleets arrive at Zephyrian worlds. Your choice, Admiral, messenger or casualty." Around the solar system, human weapons platforms were powering up for a second volley. The readings on his sensors suggested they had enough firepower to sterilize entire continents. Admiral Crexthan realized that his primitive targets were showing him mercy. "We accept your terms," he said quietly. "Excellent. You have 1 hour to collect your survivors and prepare for departure. Any ship that remains after that time will be destroyed. Any ship that returns to this system will be destroyed. Any Zephyrian vessel that approaches any human interest anywhere in the galaxy will be destroyed. Are we clear? We are clear. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Crexton alone with the wreckage of his career and his empire's assumptions about the galaxy. Around him, his surviving officers worked frantically to rescue crews from disabled ships and prepare for the most humiliating retreat in Zephyrian history. As the battered alien fleet limped toward the edge of the solar system, General Chen watched from her command center. The first phase of Operation Awakening was complete. The galaxy now knew that humanity existed and possessed military capabilities beyond their understanding. What they did not yet know was that Earth's retaliation was just beginning. Contact the deep space fleets, she ordered her communications officer. Begin Phase 2. It is time for the galaxy to learn what happens when you attack sleeping dragons. Across the galaxy, automated monitoring stations detected the hyperspace signatures of ships unlike anything in their databases. The dragons of humanity were taking wing and they carried fire in their hearts. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within hours of receiving Admiral Crexton's desperate transmission. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the great chamber of Nexus Prime, their usual diplomatic composure shattered by reports that defied belief. Dr. Velnara stood before the assembled delegates, her elongated features pale with shock. The data from the Zephyrian fleet is conclusive, she announced, her voice trembling. Humanity possesses military technology centuries beyond our current understanding. Their weapons manipulate fundamental forces in ways we cannot explain. Their ships move through spacetime itself as if it were a navigable medium. The chamber erupted in voices from 1,000 different species. Some delegates demanded proof. Others accused the Zephyrians of fabricating excuses for their failed invasion. A few called for immediate military action against Earth. Ambassador Zethkar sat in stunned silence, watching the destruction of his fleet play out on the main display for the 100th time. 200 of the Empire's finest warships reduced to scrap metal in less than an hour by weapons that should not exist. Perhaps the humans received assistance, suggested Counselor Thane, his tentacles writhing nervously. Another species might have intervened. The Etherians have been known to uplift primitive civilizations. Negative, Dr. Velnara replied, checking her data again. Spectral analysis of the human weapons shows completely unique energy signatures. This technology is not derived from any known galactic source. The humans developed these capabilities independently. The implications were staggering. For 3 centuries, the galaxy's most advanced sensors had monitored Earth and detected nothing but primitive chemical rockets and simple industrial processes. Either humanity had hidden their true development with impossible skill, or they had achieved technological advancement at a rate that broke every known rule of civilization. There must be some explanation, insisted the Marthari delegate. Species do not simply leap from chemical propulsion to spacetime manipulation without intermediate steps. Where are their industrial centers? Where are their testing facilities? How did they hide such massive development from our surveillance? Before Dr. Velnara could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. The Council's defense coordinator appeared on the main screen, his crystalline features flickering with agitation. We have detected multiple unknown vessels entering Zephyrian space, he announced. The ships match no known design in our databases. They appeared without warning and are moving toward inhabited systems at impossible speeds. The display shifted to show sensor readings from across Zephyrian territory. Dozens of sleek vessels were dispersing throughout the Empire's space, moving with coordinated precision that suggested careful planning. Each ship was roughly the size of a Zephyrian cruiser, but their energy signatures were unlike anything in galactic databases. Have they made any hostile moves? Ambassador Zethkar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Negative. They are maintaining distance from inhabited worlds and military installations, but their presence is clearly deliberate. They appear to be surveying. Dr. Velnara studied the tactical displays with growing horror. The spacing is too precise to be random. These ships are conducting systematic reconnaissance of Zephyrian infrastructure. They are mapping every military base, every industrial center, every population hub. As the Council watched in fascination and terror, the human vessels began demonstrating capabilities that redefined their understanding of space travel. Ships that had been moving at normal sublight speed suddenly vanished, reappearing on the other side of star systems instantaneously. They passed through solid matter as if it did not exist. They disappeared from sensors entirely, only to reappear minutes later in completely different locations. "This is impossible," whispered the Andromedan representative. "They are violating basic laws of physics. Matter cannot simply teleport through space. Solid objects cannot pass through other solid objects." "Apparently," Dr. Velnara said grimly, "humans have different ideas about what is possible." The reconnaissance continued for 3 days. Human ships appeared in every major Zephyrian system, conducting detailed scans of planetary defenses, fleet positions, and civilian infrastructure. They made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear. Humanity could go anywhere, anytime, undetected and unopposed. Then the demonstrations began. The first target was an unmanned asteroid mining facility in the Kepler sector. A single human vessel approached the massive industrial complex, which was protected by automated defense systems capable of destroying small fleets. The mining station's weapons opened fire with enough power to vaporize a mountain. The human ship absorbed the entire barrage without apparent damage, then fired a single shot in return. The asteroid facility, along with the entire asteroid it was built on, simply ceased to exist. One moment there was a massive chunk of rock and metal the size of a small moon. The next moment there was empty space. "They unmade an entire asteroid," Dr. Velnara reported to the horrified council. "Not destroyed it. Not vaporized it, unmade it. The matter simply returned to energy in a controlled fashion. The precision required for such an action is beyond our ability to calculate." The demonstrations continued across Zephyrian space. Military outposts found their weapons mysteriously offline, their power systems disabled by technology that left no trace of interference. Cargo fleets discovered human ships appearing beside them, scanning their contents, then vanishing without a word. Defense platforms reported targeting systems that could not lock onto the human vessels, as if they existed in a different dimension. Most disturbing of all were the messages. Human transmissions began appearing on Zephyrian communication networks, bypassing every security protocol and encryption system the Empire possessed. The messages were simple, delivered in perfect Zephyrian by human representatives who somehow knew intimate details of their culture and military organization. To the people of the Zephyrian Empire, the messages began. "Your leaders attacked our world without provocation, killing millions of innocent civilians. This was an act of genocide that demands justice. We do not make war on innocent populations, but we will hold your leaders accountable for their crimes." Each message was followed by detailed intelligence about Zephyrian military operations that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. They knew fleet movements planned months in advance. They had copies of classified communications between high-ranking officers. They possessed technical specifications for weapons that were supposed to be state secrets. Admiral Crexton found himself under house arrest as military investigators tried to determine how humans had penetrated their most secure systems. The Admiral insisted that his ships had never transmitted such information, but the evidence was overwhelming. Somehow humanity had been watching Zephyrian activities for far longer than anyone had imagined. "How long have they been observing us?" Ambassador Zethkar demanded during an emergency military briefing. "If they possess this level of intelligence gathering capability, they could have been monitoring our activities for decades." "Centuries," came the grim reply from his intelligence chief. "Analysis of the human data suggests they have been tracking our movements since before the first official contact with Earth. They knew about our invasion plans before we finalized them. They knew about our fleet movements before our own admirals received their orders." The scope of human preparation was becoming clear. For hundreds of years, while the galaxy dismissed them as primitive and backward, humanity had been watching, learning, and preparing. They had studied galactic civilization in detail, understanding their enemies better than those enemies understood themselves. "Sir," the intelligence chief continued, "we are receiving reports from across the Empire. Human ships are appearing in every major system. They are not attacking, but they are making their presence known. The message is clear. They can strike anywhere, anytime, and we cannot stop them." Ambassador Zethkar stared at the tactical displays showing human ships throughout his empire's space. Each vessel represented technology so advanced that it might as well have been magic. Each appearance demonstrated capabilities that rendered Zephyrian defenses meaningless. "What do they want?" he asked. The answer came as human transmissions reached the highest levels of Zephyrian government. The message was delivered directly to Emperor Vexthul himself, appearing on his personal communication system despite security measures that should have made such contact impossible. Emperor Vexthul, the human representative said, speaking flawless Imperial Zephyrian, "I am General Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your admiral has delivered our initial message to the Galactic Council. Now we deliver our message to you. Your empire committed an act of genocide against humanity. Justice will be served. You have 72 hours to surrender your war criminals for trial. If you refuse, we will come and take them. Your defenses cannot stop us. Your fleets cannot challenge us. Your only choice is cooperation or consequences." The transmission ended, leaving Emperor Vexthul alone with the realization that his mighty empire was now at the mercy of a species they had dismissed as primitive savages. Across the galaxy, other species began receiving similar visits from human reconnaissance fleets. The Great Chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. For the first time in galactic history, an entire species was on trial for genocide, and their judges were the very beings they had tried to exterminate. General Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by representatives from across the galaxy. Her simple military uniform looked stark against the elaborate ceremonial garments worn by the alien delegates, but everyone present understood who held the real power in this room. 3 months had passed since humanity's awakening. 3 months of systematic demonstrations that had rewritten every assumption about galactic military capabilities. Human fleets now patrolled trade routes that had been considered secure for millennia. Human observers sat in on government meetings across dozens of worlds. Human technology had penetrated every major military and industrial installation in known space. The galaxy had learned that resistance was not just futile, it was impossible. "The evidence is clear," General Chen announced, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber's advanced acoustics. The Zephyrian Empire deliberately targeted civilian populations on Earth, killing over 30 million innocent people in unprovoked attacks. This constitutes genocide under galactic law. The question before this council is not guilt or innocence. The question is justice. Emperor Vexthul sat in the defendant's section, his once proud bearing broken by months of watching his empire's defenses crumble before human technology. Admiral Crexton and his surviving officers sat beside him, their military honors stripped away by courts that no longer held any meaning. "The Galactic Council approved our actions," Emperor Vexthul said weakly. "We followed established law. The doctrine of beneficial occupation is legal under the Galactic Charter." "Legal," General Chen agreed, "but not moral, and certainly not wise." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the chamber with images of Earth's devastated cities. The alien delegates watched in uncomfortable silence as scenes of destruction played out in perfect detail. Even those who had voted for the occupation looked away from the evidence of what their decision had caused. "You classified humanity as a primitive species incapable of galactic citizenship," General Chen continued. "You based this classification on 3 centuries of observation. What you observed was true but incomplete. You saw a species that had stopped expanding, stopped broadcasting, stopped displaying aggressive territorial behavior. You interpreted this as stagnation. You were wrong." Dr. Velnara spoke from her position in the scientific section. "Our analysis was based on established principles of civilization development. Every species that achieves galactic status follows predictable patterns of growth and expansion. Humanity showed none of these patterns." "Because we chose a different path," General Chen replied. "When we discovered we were not alone in the galaxy, we faced a choice. We could announce ourselves with grand displays of power and technological achievement, racing to claim territory and resources like every other species. Or we could watch, learn, and prepare." She activated another holographic display, this one showing the hidden cities beneath Earth's surface. The assembled delegates gasped as they saw the true scope of human civilization. Vast underground complexes that dwarfed surface cities, industrial centers that could manufacture materials beyond galactic understanding, research facilities where humans had spent centuries studying and improving upon every technology in known space. "We chose patience over pride," General Chen explained. We chose preparation over expansion. We chose to understand our neighbors before revealing ourselves to them. For 300 years, we watched you make war on each other. We studied your technologies, your tactics, your weaknesses. We learned that the galaxy was not a safe place for the unprepared. Counselor Thane's tentacles writhed nervously as he spoke. You deceived us. You made us believe you were helpless when you possessed weapons that make our fleets look like children's toys. We protected ourselves, General Chen corrected. The galaxy has shown us what happens to weak species. They are conquered, enslaved, or exterminated. We refuse to be weak. Ambassador Zethkar rose to his feet, his scaled features twisted with anger. You speak of protection, but your fleets now patrol our space. Your ships monitor our communications. Your weapons platforms orbit our worlds. How is this different from conquest? General Chen's expression remained calm, but her eyes held the cold fury that had terrified the galaxy. The difference is choice. We could have destroyed your empire completely. We could have taken your worlds, enslaved your populations, or simply erased you from existence. Instead, we offer you the same choice you offered Earth. Submit to oversight or face the consequences of your actions. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was not seeking conquest or territory. They were seeking justice backed by power that made resistance meaningless. What are your terms? Asked the Andromedan representative, speaking for the entire council. General Chen activated a new display showing a detailed proposal that had clearly been prepared long in advance. First, reparations for the genocide committed against Earth. The Zephyrian Empire will provide resources equivalent to rebuilding the destroyed cities and supporting the families of those killed. Second, the establishment of the Galactic Justice Tribunal with human oversight to prevent future acts of genocide. Third, the revision of galactic law to include protections for all sentient species regardless of their apparent technological level. And if we refuse? Emperor Vexthul asked. Then humanity will establish its own justice system, General Chen replied. We will judge each species by their actions and respond accordingly. Those who have committed genocide will face appropriate consequences. Those who have oppressed the weak will find themselves facing the strong. Those who have made war on the innocent will discover what it means to fight an enemy that cannot be defeated. The threat was clear, backed by months of demonstrations that had proven human capabilities beyond any doubt. The galaxy had two choices: accept human oversight and reform their civilization, or face a reckoning that would reshape known space. You are demanding that we surrender galactic sovereignty to a single species, protested the Marthari delegate. No, General Chen said firmly. We are offering to share the responsibility of ensuring galactic peace. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to ensure that what happened to Earth never happens to any other world. We offer partnership to those who embrace justice and correction to those who do not. The vote was unanimous, though hardly willing. Every species present understood the reality of their situation. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history: absolute military superiority combined with apparent moral restraint. They could destroy any civilization in known space, but they chose to offer reform instead of revenge. The new galactic charter was signed within days. Human observers took their seats in the reformed council. Human fleets began patrolling trade routes, ensuring safe passage for all species regardless of their military power. Human technology began flowing to peaceful civilizations, accelerating development and prosperity across the galaxy. Emperor Vexthul and his war criminals were tried and sentenced to life imprisonment on a human-administered justice world. Admiral Crexton spent his remaining years in a facility that treated him with more dignity than he had shown to Earth's population. Dr. Velnara found herself working with human scientists, learning technologies that revolutionized her understanding of the universe. How did you advance so quickly? She asked during one of their research sessions. The human scientist smiled. We had excellent teachers. Every transmission your species sent, every technology you demonstrated, every tactical doctrine you employed, we studied it all. Then we improved upon it. The galaxy taught us everything we needed to know to surpass the galaxy. Years passed. The new galactic order brought unprecedented peace and prosperity to known space. Trade flourished under human protection. Scientific advancement accelerated as species shared knowledge freely. Wars became extinct as humanity's presence made aggression pointless. Some species grumbled about human oversight, but none could deny the results. The galaxy was safer, more prosperous, and more united than it had ever been in recorded history. General Chen, now promoted to Secretary General of Galactic Affairs, stood in her office overlooking Earth's rebuilt cities. The scars of the Zephyrian attack were gone, replaced by monuments to the victims and memorials to the choice that had changed galactic civilization forever. "Do you think we made the right choice?" asked her aide, a young human who had grown up in the post-awakening galaxy. General Chen looked out at the stars, where human ships moved silently through space, watching over trillions of souls across hundreds of worlds. "The galaxy taught us that the strong prey upon the weak. We chose to become strong enough to protect the weak. History will judge whether that was wisdom or folly." She turned back to her work, managing the delicate balance of power that kept the galaxy peaceful. The dragons of humanity had awakened not for conquest, but for justice. They would remain vigilant for as long as the galaxy needed guardians. The age of tea,